My cabbages!
Low, low, man.
Ah, my cabbages!
What is up, everybody? We have an amazing Somali trial update today. Absolute cinema. And there are real consequences coming down the line. Exactly what I predicted from the beginning. Once again, legal mindset being proven right. It's great with the Somali case. Of course, I'm Legal Mindset. Teach you to beat your own judge. Andrew Esquire, American attorney over here in Bangkok, over in Asia. Great to be live with you. Fantastic news today. And there are U.S. law repercussions. So I want to get those out and get the facts straight. I know a lot of other channels, as soon as there's Somali news, there's a lot of clickbait. There's a lot of false information. There's a lot of misstatement of the facts and the law. So we're going to set it straight today. We also got a fast facts afterwards for a quick condensed version. So if you need something to forward to people, you can do that to get them the right information before all the AI channels take over and people start spreading misinformation on this. So we're going to have a really good time today. Definite celebration. And it's really good to be here with all of you guys and really celebrate together. Also, Mudang has her tiger hat on today because in the spirit of the Korean tiger, right? Which I may or may not have a Korean tiger tattoo. She's got the Korean tiger on today. So she's rocking that. She's doing fine. Very happy about today. And once again, there's going to be a lot of disinformation on this. And I want to caution people because the problem is because Somali trends in the algorithm, a lot of people get off and they go in the wrong directions. We're going to break down exactly what's going to happen today. We got the transcript too, which I'll go over on the live. I just take a summary for the fast facts, but it's going to be great today. Mazrova Palma for 100. Check Cronus says time for cabbage. That is absolutely right.
Oh hell no. Oh hell no.
It is absolutely cabbage time. Mud Dragon says cabbage. I'll give a little bit of a
emotional cabbage.
Chew on Thor for 100. Check Cronus says you disappoint me, Ramsey. Yes, Ramsey is not going to like this one. He's definitely watching. I'll tell you, he's 100% watching. Grazdoc says let the cabbage strike again. That's right. Mikey D666 for 10 Australian dollar dues says please take these humble Australia dollar reduced for all your great work. My pleasure. It's been great covering this and having the support of everybody, all you guys, the Somali conviction team. It's been amazing. Tank Rat dropping 50 legal mindset memberships. Super based. Say thank you to Tank Rat and OG for this. And if you receive one, just like I said, thank you. And now you have access to the member streams, and we'll probably do one.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Juanther says Grandpa Atosi sends his regards. Yeah, he does. He's helped me a lot with how to get better on YouTube. Martin Lee HB for 78 HK says, I feel the need for cabbages. It's been a while since I'm able to catch a live stream. Well, you're here. And that's the important thing. King Luja for 30 Malaysian ringgit. Greetings from Malaysia for my company's annual dinners. Currently soaking in the good vibes, good food, and good companionship. That's all you really need in life, to be honest. Life is good, unlike for cabbage, for brains, Johnny Somali, Ramsey Cleet Ismail. Yeah, he's going to be facing a reality now, especially with the status he's going to pick up. And this is the bombshell today, is that the recommendation of a certain status, which is going to keep him away from normal humans. That's right. This is better than I would have expected. And to be honest, I've been downplaying certain things because we didn't know what was going to come in, what was going to come out. Now we have the prosecutor's recommendation and we had the closing argument. So it's kind of done except for the sentencing. So we're going to get to that. The sentencing will be in April. So we've got time before that. But it's coming to the conclusion of the saga. UFON for 100 check. The conclusion of the saga last night. We're almost there. We just have to get the sentencing. And then once the sentencing is done, that's it. But I'll tell you exactly what I expect. I have my prediction for that. Do we know where he'll be incarcerated? Regular, Korean, or foreigner one? Also, I snacked some cabbage right now. Very good question. So as part of this, they did not include, let me be very clear, a specification for foreigner prison. So it is very possible that he ends up in regular Korean gen pop with other Koreans who may not be very happy about his complete framing of everything he's done is because Korean culture is so fucked up. That's how he's framing it. And that's how he framed it in court today. We're going to read you guys what he said, the exact words of Ramsey Cleet Ismail and what he said and how he attempted to deflect this. Okay. It is honestly disgusting because he tried to pin it back on Korean culture. Fallen Hero gifted a membership here. King Lugia for 10 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much.
Emotional damage.
Hag Love for Uncle Mindset. Thank you. Ike Norris says, this is the Lord's work and it's marvelous. Mwah. It's great to see karma coming through just on point for somebody who, and we're going to get into this as we go through, but someone who showed no genuine remorse. Now, in his statements today, he said, I'm sorry, right? And you're going to see that, and we're going to read that. He did say sorry. But everybody that perceived that, just like his previous apologies, everybody who was there on the Somali conviction team, who was in the courtroom, and just generally, even the judge wasn't buying it. So nobody is believing that he is sincerely sorry here. Crimson Tabby as a new member, thank you. C3 Metal Thing, he says, RKS suffering makes my insomnia not so bad. There you go. LPC said cabbage is a good source of iron.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
L Eagle says, may RKI's sweat and tears water the cabbage's soil. That's right. Solitary cabbage. Well, there is some bad news is that because of what went down, he may not get the cabbage labor. He may get a different labor than the cabbages. The cabbages, plushie coming soon. Plushie coming soon. Little teaser here. Plushie coming soon. The cabbages may be too good for him. He may be sunken below the cat. The cabbages are too adorable for him to deal with. I'm just here for the cabbages. Well, that's fine. That's fine. Larry Power said we need a merch store with cabbage plushies. They're coming soon. They are coming soon. It's going to be out in March. We're gonna have the cabbage plushie. So before sentencing, we're gonna have cabbages. Let's go off to the cabbage farm. That's right. Take rats at Lowell. Of course, this stream had to be late, Scuff. 3 months, and it'll be 4 years of watching Scuff. Dude, you've been a based OG for the while. Thank you for your support. Thank you for just being great. Stopping by the trial stream yesterday. It was absolutely amazing. Appreciate that. Cabbage for Moodang. Moodang does eat cabbage. So Moodang and cabbage, good combination. Good combination. That's a natural food for Moodang, right? UNSC Frigate Grafton 151 says, hey, I just want to say you're my go-to for anything legal. Been loving the fast facts. Thank you. And they're going to keep coming. I'm going to do one on the Korean Black Widow. If you guys haven't heard about that, there's a lady, she may or may not be attractive, who was a Black Widow killer in Korea. So I'm going to go over that. We got people simping for her. That's a future fast facts. Robo Palma dropping 50 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
If you receive those from Tank Rat or from Oswald Palma, please say thank you. No way the saga ends on my birthday. Yes, it's a great birthday gift. 2 years, so Uber based. Darth Torlin says, cabbage boy, crying jokes in broken joy. Pet your plant, don't deploy. It's over clout, enjoy. Great bars from Darth Torlin, who put together some good work. So check out his channel. It's good stuff. Tian VTCH for 10 Singapore says, I'm just happy when he gets sentenced because justice, but I'm going to be sad once he goes to prison. A regular cabbage content begun. Well, he might try to appeal. And if he tries to appeal this will be continued entertainment for a while. So, and mind you, if he does appeal it, he has to do that from prison. So he will be in prison during an appeal. So that is possible, very possible. Mazuro Palma said, yay, multiple checks in chat. Was it Dobrano to all my checks out there? I know a little bit of many languages. Mass Shadow says, launch the cabbages. Garrett Griffin became a new member. Welcome to the BLM, the Base Legal Mindset. Hagfish says, the calls for celebration. I'm eating Hawaiian pineapple pizza while watching your Uncle Mindset will drink a Scotch whiskey to you. I'm going to be celebrating tonight. Definitely, we're going to take the night off. I was going to do the trial stream, but we've got some celebration. I got some work to do, so we'll be doing that. We'll be doing that instead. It's a good night. A Bar Loose for 666 says, good morning or evening, morning to you. I hope you're doing well. Hope for a scorching earth verdict for Johnny. We're going to get into it. DW Dwogden, one Deb, says, will the Somali conviction team submit a brief in support of sentencing? We've already submitted enough. There's already been enough material submitted by people, not just me, including a petition for extraordinary punishment that will be considered by the judge. So I think there's enough in already. I don't think we need to submit. There's anything that needs to be submitted in addition to what we've got already. So there's enough in already. Now, mind you, the child sexual harassment charges, those will probably be dealt with in a separate case, and they're still out there. So those are still in the air. Garrett Griffith said, cabbage. Hugashaka 7112 says, if Johnny, no cash, ends up in prison, his ring of fire might start to burn. That's right. Mobster says, suffer, Johnny, suffer. Hail RKI Justice Team. That's right. King Conda says, let the scuff flow through you, legal mindset. Oh, we're doing good. Jay Vassy says, Sun 20 today, RKI News, cherry on top, 8-month member. Awesome. And congratulations to your son. He's going to get that SO status. We'll talk about that. Booty goods for Johnny, says Jake Byron Jones for £5. Charles 2450 says, I never get tired of the video of him getting punched. Neither do I. Justice serves cold, but snacks for legal mindset, none for RKI. All right, let's jump right into the PP. I'm going to whip it out. So get ready, because we got one today. A nice PP on the Somali trial disaster. So let's jump right into it, get into what happened today in court. Like I said, we had members of the SCT there. They're present. Big one today, no Hank. This is the second time Hank has not been there. Now, I'm just commenting on him as far as him being in court or not. But, I mean, we've speculated on a rift perhaps between the two, or maybe Hank not just wanting to have nothing to do with it. But he was not there in court today. Today's hearing, we thought, was just going to be on a motion to modify the indictments. Now, this motion was filed a couple days ago, but I kept it under wraps because we didn't know what was going to go down exactly. And I wanted to make sure we got the facts first before I just talked and speculated and said what was going to happen. So this motion could have been a motion to reduce charges, could have been a motion to remove. It could have added charges. It could have added other stuff, but it was none of that. And it was something that entirely disappointed Somali. He was thoroughly broken by this failure today in court. Johnny Somali Ramsey Ismail made a horribly bad argument during his closing arguments that were very poorly received by everybody in the court, including the prosecutor and the judge. And the prosecution did give their recommended punishment today. The ex-Terminator Andy says, emotional cabbage. That's right.
Emotional cabbage.
T6250 says, suffer, Johnny, suffer. Let's get right into it. So remember, guys, he had 8 charges. So in case you forgot, he already pled guilty to all the obstruction of business and the Minor Offenses Act and the deepfake. So understand, because we're going to get into sentencing today, that with this sentencing, it's not just for the deepfake. So I know that some people say it's just for the, no. It's for all of these charges. Now, these do not include the child sexual harassment that may or may not be a separate case. So all this time, I've been telling you guys maximum 12 years. I probably thought somewhere between 2 and 5, right? A lot of people were going 31, whatever. Those numbers were never real. And at this point, we don't know whether we can't factor in whether those other ones will be added because we don't know whether the child sexual harassment fully goes through. Maybe they're satisfied with the length of this trial and the length of the punishment, and they don't bring those. Maybe they do. We'll see. It depends on the prosecutors in that case. And the prosecutors in that separate child sexual harassment case may be waiting for this one to decide where they go with that. So this is what we got today. And he was trying to get rid of this deepfake with Jungmann. And that's what he had a settlement over. So he was really hoping to get rid of that. And his expectation was, hey, I'm going to get rid of this charge. It's going to be gone. I have a settlement with Jungmann. And because the other guy doesn't care, well, I don't care. Well, newsflash, it's not up to Johnny. And it's not up to Jungmann either. It's up to the prosecutors, right? The prosecutors. And it's the prosecutors that decide whether to add the charge, drop it, or mitigate it and make it less, right? And make it less. So that's where he really made the mistake because Johnny felt like he was in control, but he was never in control. Johnny Somali was never in control of this process. Fat Factor Creation for £5 says, no cabbage field because they know Ramsey, not Somali, can't be trusted with food produce. I like kimchi and I don't want him messing with it. C3 Metal thing, he says, is it possible he could charge the CHS after he's about to be released from prison just to extend the suffering? They could delay it, not too long. They do have to bring it at a certain period of time, but let's say he gets sentenced to 2 years, and I'm gonna put it down, right? I'm gonna say 2. Say he gets sentenced to 2. Well, they could bring it like a year in if they wanted to, right? Or they could bring it 6 months in or something like that. So then that would extend the process because remember, those trials take a while. So that trial itself could take another 6 months to a year, right? Based on how things play out in Korean court. So it kind of makes once again, in Korea, the process is the punishment. We've said it the entire time, and this punishment is coming to its climax. External Crow for 10 Canadians says, huge fan of your content, doing the good work. Let's hold all the cabbages to account. That's right. MJ today's 3680. What's up for 5,001? Thank you so much. And I hope you're doing well there in Korea. Today's been a good day. RKI facing a good amount of time. And today was my last day at a Hagwon. Start a new one, a new week. Well, I hope that your new Hagwon goes well and you make new friends and you do get along well there. I know it's a tough job to do and it's very demanding, but you know, the right environment can go a long way. Space Duck 9194 member for 6 months. And then UFO said Lotte World possible charges after sex offender. Well, Lotte World is on here. So mind you, business, I'm going to zoom out here. Number 3 here was disrupting a ride at Lotte World. Now, what he did at Lotte World to children, meaning the harassment of children, can go towards the child sexual harassment case. So that video about him around children can be evidence that's used as part of that. So they may end up using that language he was using about, around children in the Lotte World case. And that language that he knew was sexual at the time that he played it, right? He was very aware it was sexual language. Let's continue. So, okay, there was this motion to modify the indictment, and RKI was hoping for the deepfakes to be dropped, but it was the most procedural little tiny change out there of the prosecution updating a table of contents for the charges, literally just giving a little small update to properly document all of his charges and updating some dates and times. That's all they did. They didn't mitigate the deepfake charge with Youngman. They did not drop it. They kept it. And of course they kept the Bong Bong one. That wasn't going anywhere. We always knew that wasn't going anywhere. That was going to stick. So the Bong Bong one stays, the Youngman one stays, even though he had a settlement. Even though he went with the other guy and they said, oh no, I don't care about it. I don't want him to be punished anymore. And they said, we don't want each other to be punished. Doesn't matter. By the way, Youngman, his deepfake charge stuck around. So both of them end up keeping their deepfake charges. So what this says is the prosecutors in this case did not care about what they think. The prosecutors don't give a shit about what Johnny Somali, Ramsey Khalid Ismail thinks should be done. They're going to do what they're going to do because that's what justice demands, right? And justice goes beyond just what they think and what they want. So Johnny Somali wanted the other deepfake to be charged, but guess what? That's not going to get dropped. Mickey D66 for 5 Aussie says, regarding RK's expectations, he can wish with one hand and a cap in the other. I know which hand will fill up first. That's right. Ryobi for $6.99 says, I mean, if you really wanted to be petty on top of make him play Dota 2 on low priority and no English to get immortal rank, it would take forever. That would be a hell of a punishment. Miserable Palm for 100 said, looks like prosecutors are trolling him a little bit. And the judge trolled him. The judge trolled him today in a massive way. And because Johnny Somali doesn't understand the court process, he thinks he does. He thinks he's in control of it. The judge literally flipped the middle finger to him today with the sentencing timing. It's amazing. Patrick said, if he does get tried and convicted with the CHS, will he be put in the registry if they have one? And does he get sent to the feds as a U.S. citizen? I'm going to talk about that today because whether or not the child sexual harassment case goes through, he will likely have to report in when he gets to the United States. I'm going to get to that law. We're going to talk about that law in detail when we get through this, guys. So yes, massive loss for RKI as no charges dropped or mitigated. So totally screwed there. Next was his statement. Now we're going to get into what happened here, and I've got the full trials transcript here. So I'll just go through the actual trial transcript with you guys so you can see what happened here and see this is the raw deal here. So you guys got it. We'll get it here and we'll go through it, and I'll just walk through that. So at 5:20 the court opens. 5:23 Johnny enters the court, which is his earliest appearance. He's usually late. He's wearing a black suit and glasses. The interpreter enters. 5:27 Johnny's lawyer enters. The judge calls Johnny and his lawyer to the stand. 5:30 in the deepfake case against Johnny, prosecutor submits a correction to the date and time, which happened 2 days earlier, as stated in the indictment at midnight. Johnny asked for an explanation of the date change. Well, the prosecutor asked for a confirmation of the date change, and Johnny denies it took place on the 28th, and it actually happened on the 31st. The judge corrects the record regarding the dates of the deepfake crimes, and the Jungmann deepfake remains in effect. The deepfake settlement was not worth the paper it was written on. And I will, we got transcripts. These are unofficial transcripts from the SCT. Unofficial transcripts. It's not the official transcript. So we're going to get into the sentence. I'm going to skip the sentence for now, right? We'll skip the sentence for now. And now Ramsey speaks. So we're going to talk about Ramsey speaking. So he says, I sincerely apologize for my actions in Korea. I express remorse for the incident for which I was charged. I have been held captive in Korea for 1.5 years, during which time I committed no crimes. Now let's pause there. That's debatable because the child sexual harassment is potentially a crime that he committed during the time he was there after he was caught, right? So let's put a little pin in that. So that's a little bit of a misstatement there by Mr. Ramsey. Okay. Then he said, and I learned to integrate into society. At that point, I don't know how he was integrated in society. I did some foolish things under the influence of alcohol, and I realized the consequences. Mind you, he's going to keep stressing the consequences, not that, it's the people that he was wronged and he feels bad for what happened to them. Anyways, he finishes by saying, I would sincerely apologize for this. But then here's the kicker. Here's the real statement. Having been born and raised in the U.S., I did not realize how serious the consequences of these actions, right, were, which would not be considered criminal in the U.S. and could be in Korea. Let's pause there. I did not realize how serious the consequences of my actions. That could not more perfectly explain FAFO. And this delusion goes to him essentially saying that what I did would be okay in America, that all of the behavior he did would be totally fine in America, going into a shop, throwing ramen at someone, being disruptive, harassing people. All of that would be fine, totally fine. All of these disruptions would be totally okay in the United States. That is definitely, I'm going to pull out here and call
Objection.
Because he would definitely have been trespassed. There would have been potential other things that came down the line for him in terms of harassment, stalking, etc. Right? There's a lot of other consequences that could have happened. Mind you, he could also just been shot in the U.S., right? I mean, that's something that also could have happened, a real life consequence. So trying to pretend that he could get away with doing this in America and there would be no consequences, I'm not sure about that, bro. And there's a reason why you were filming in America, because you knew and were scared of Americans. And Johnny Somali repeatedly said he was scared of Americans, right? So that I'm calling some BS on. Kaiko's Corner, 4176 is a new member. Welcome. Darth Caton, member for 10 months, says, hey, Legal Mindset, glad I catch stream. Looks like the clock is ticking for Cabbage Boy. Hope you have a good evening. Saludos, Puerto Rico. Okay. So let's finish Johnny's statement. So there's a little bit more of a statement here. Once again, this is the actual statement that he made in court. I reached an agreement with Lee Jung Chan, I think it's by Jungmann, regarding the 2 deepfake cases. It's not 2 deepfakes for him. It's actually only 1, so he misstated that. And he no longer seeks punishment. Bong Bong made it clear in court that she herself was unaware that distributing deepfake videos was a crime and initially viewed them as not as sexual content, but as funny images. If she, a Korean, didn't recognize the same act as a crime, how could I, as an American, have known it was? Also, when I asked Bong Bong whether she had the defense consent to distribute the video, she replied no. The law is unfair since the police didn't do anything when I tried to report Bong Bong. All I'm asking is for the law to be applied fairly. I want to appeal to the prosecution and police. Note, they both done their jobs. The police were done a year ago. The prosecution's finished. It's unfair if Bong Bong and I receive different punishments. I'm still young. I want to see my family and go home. Please show leniency. So begging for leniency there, but blaming Bong Bong. The bulk of this is blaming the victim, an actual victim, and going back and saying, hey, because you didn't charge her, you can't charge me. This is a defense I told you guys from the beginning doesn't work anywhere in the world and was never going to work in Korea, which is because you didn't charge them, you can't charge me. It's the speeding ticket analogy. Because you didn't give that person a speeding ticket, you can't give me a speeding ticket. That's not how it works, right? It just simply doesn't work that way. Not in Korea, not in America, not anywhere, right? At all. And the prosecutors get to choose who to go forward with and who not, and they can perceive, okay, this is the victim here, we're not going to charge her even if she did incidentally show it, because the way he showed it and how he portrayed himself as her boyfriend, right, after the picture of them kissing, being sexual, which is sexual, right, under Korean law. And once again, it's not somebody's opinion as to whether it's sexual, it's whether Korean law treats it as sexual, and it is, right? Making out with somebody and then, is generally considered sexual under Korean law, and then posting that up as they're your girlfriend can hurt their reputation because you're associated with the most despicable man in all of South Korea. Affogato Banquo 8119 for $9.99 says, I've been keeping up with RKI since I finished school, completed a DLE internship in global animatronics. Awesome. And became a professional prop artist at Redacted. He could have done much better things with life. He certainly could. And he could have said he's sorry genuinely and done what's right, as I said he should do from the beginning. If he wanted to make it right, you should have gone to the victims, apologized to all the victims, paid them money, paid them off, probably what Vitali did in the Philippines, by the way, and made it good with the victims. And that could have mitigated this. But instead, he went with not guilty and went with I didn't do nothing wrong and I didn't know this was wrong, when he knew he was pushing the limit. And he knew his chat was making him do things that were beyond the limit. And he even said at various times, I'm going to get arrested, right? He knew that he thought he might get arrested, right, from certain of his acts, right? For 5,001, thanks. I can't remember if Korean law doesn't consider being drunk as an excuse or not. It's not for these things. And he committed crimes while being here during the trial. Now, what it can do for certain types of crimes is mitigate it. So being drunk can be like a mitigating factor, but it doesn't knock it out. It's not a full excuse or full defense of being drunk for any of these things. Doomerang 01 for $4.99 says they should allow RKI to appeal about the unfair application of law that we stuck in Korean longer. Please appeal. I would love for him to appeal. That'll be great content for me. I'll be covering Cabbage Boy for another, 2-3 years at that point, which will be a fantastic. Bring it all the way to the Constitutional Court. Bring it all the way to the Supreme Court of Korea. That will be amazing. That will be fantastic. So let me also read a quote. This is a quote from somebody in the audience who listened to what he said. And this person in the audience who was listening to the apology said, while Johnny was talking, I was thinking, this is not an apology. And I'm pretty sure the court isn't going to take it as one either. The judge was not impressed by the no-apology. He was flippant during his cross-examination, but Johnny left the court with the face of FO part of FAFO. He was really shook by the recommended sentence. So that's from the impression of someone in court saying that he was shook. Johnny was shook. He was definitely feeling it today. He's scared. He's definitely not having that same bravado and, swagger that he normally had, right? So let's go over a summary here. So Arkea argued that his ignorance of Korean culture essentially led him to attack shopkeepers. That is not a defense. Saying that I didn't know it was a cultural thing, right? Throwing ramen and yelling at people. Oh, that's our culture in America. That's what he's saying, right? That's not our culture in America. That's complete bullshit. He's trying to say Americans, what we do in America, it's okay to attack shopkeepers, to throw ramen, to make a disruption. That's totally okay in American culture. That's bullshit. And we all know that's bullshit, right? Time to next one of the fast facts right after this. If you just stick around, this will feed right into the fast facts. So you'll be able to get the fast facts after as well. The ADHD Gaming says he should totally be an example of FAO. He will. Listen. He also claims Jungman doesn't want punishment. Prosecutors don't care. He attacked Bong Bong for showing the video and focused on the consequences. So once again, I think Johnny is really only sorry because he knows there's going to be consequences. He's not sorry because of what he actually did to the people. He's sorry because he knows he's going to get punished. So the judge visibly reacted when Johnny said it was Korean culture, and he gave what was called as a side eye to Johnny. And why this is important is this judge has been very serious the entire time. I saw the judge. I was there in court. He's super serious, super no nonsense. The fact that he made a face, and the prosecutor was not looking happy either, right? The fact that these people were making a face, they were looking him down, they were side-eyeing him, does it not good for him. And remember, the sentencing is all on the judge. There's no jury, so it's all the judge. And arguing that the law is unfair, right? The police didn't do anything when I tried to report Bong Bong. It's unfair that Bong Bong receives a different punishment. Nobody was buying that. Nobody was actually taking that seriously. Talented X, also welcome as a new member. Escova 7591 says, by using the I was drunk excuse, is he not saying committed another crime? Well, it's not necessarily illegal to be drunk itself. It's what you do while you're drunk that can be a problem. And he wasn't driving, right? So that's not there. So there's not a crime in there for being drunk. But that's a good point in terms of the mitigation, right? It's not going to be mitigated, and they're not going to mitigate anything. So no one in court thought that apology was sincere. So let's get to the sentencing. The juicy stuff, what you guys all want. The prosecutor suggested 3 years in prison with labor. That's right. Let me say that one more time. With labor. Okay? So that is a mandatory inclusion here. A fine of 150,000 won. Now that's not a lot, but that's the maximum they can give. It kind of was hinted that if they could give more, they would have. And sex offender registration. What? Yes. Sex offender registration. We're going to get into what that means in Korea and the US, okay? So the court is very likely to adopt the prosecution's recommendation or give him a little bit under that, because Korea is known to be a little bit lenient on the punishment. So because he recommended 3 years with labor, which there's once again, they're going to give him probation or whatever, or say that they would have recommended it. No. Because they recommended that, it's likely he gets 2 to 3 years in prison with a fine and sex offender registration. That is the likely ruling. He's also giving up his 2 smartphones. The smartphones are gone. He's not getting those smartphones back. So that is locked in. So once again, hilarious. So what does sex offender registration mean? So as a registered sex offender, his labor will only be with other prisoners. Right? With other prisoners. So he's likely going to have a factory job or be cleaning the prison toilets, because when you are a sex offender, you are not allowed to be around regular Korean citizens. You are isolated from them. So they are not going to put him anywhere near regular Korean citizens. So unfortunately for the cabbages, that might be too good for him, because he would be around regular farm laborers. So as much as I love the cabbages, we may have to admit that it's more likely he ends up making license plates or making odang, the Korean fish cakes, or, cleaning the prison toilets, scrubbing stuff up. He's going to be inside doing some hard labor in Korean prison. They will also be required to make a public disclosure that he is a sex offender, and he is going to go to mandatory sex offender treatment. So that's going to be all part of that designation as a registered sex offender in Korea. So before I get on to the U.S. consequences, let's get some of these comments. Luminous Cove, new member, welcome. Magic Misa says, oh, this dumpster fire of a human again. It's glorious. The HD Graming says, make him work for once in his life. A real job, right? The Talented X says, oh, sweet Jeebus, I'm about to bust. So regular labor in prison? Yes. Prison manual labor. Kadrenza for 5. Thank you. Says hi. The autistic Keyblade wielder says the battle against Johnny Somali is near its end. The cabbages call for him. Hope you have a great day. I'm having a fantastic day. This makes my day. This absolutely. Come on.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Smash the like button, guys, if you like this. Also, Kolke giving 50 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much.
Emotional cabbage.
Make sure to say thank you if you received those from anybody today who's gifted those, including Kolki, Tank Rat, Mazrova Palma. Thank you guys for those big 50s. Appreciate that. I will go as a new member. Welcome. Kolki says, praise the sun. It's a glorious day. Allison Brown, 1165 for 10 says, is 3 year recommended, including the deepfake, or could it be additional time once he found guilty of deepfake? Yeah, I know there's some confusion and maybe, I don't know if there's bad information out there, but this is everything. So this is all 8 charges. So let me go back here. 3 years in prison is for all 8. It's everything. So it's including the deepfake. So there's nothing added on. He cannot get more than this. And this is where, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here too much, but this is why I told you guys somewhere between 3 to 5 was my prediction. That pretty much hit spot on, right? And the laser on 2 to 5, 3 to 5 is what I was pretty much saying. It was never going to be 31. The maximum was 12. And he could get child sexual harassment charges, but that'd be a separate case. So that's a whole separate case, which may or may not happen, right? I'm being real with you guys and being honest. May or may not happen. Now, that could be up to another 10 years, right? If he gets hit with that one. But that's totally separate. Don't know if it's going on. This case, we've got 3 years on the table. That's what we've got as the maximum because the judge isn't going to give more than that. The judge is typically not going to give more than the prosecutor recommends. DCV Titan for 2 says, how are sex offenders treated in the Gen Pop? We're about to find out. I may have to ask some questions on that. Maybe we'll do a follow-up on sex offenders in Korea just to have a little frontier for Johnny Somali. Thunder Chicken for 10 says, what happens if RKI refuses to labor in prison? More terrible crime treatment or worse. But he doesn't go quietly, does what is required of him. I'm sure he's going to do what's required of him because you gotta do it. When they tell you to do something, you kind of got to do it. There's consequences if you don't do things that you're told to do in prison. I think you guys are probably aware of that. So we can get into more of that. Maybe we'll have a Korean prison special on what happens in Korean prison just for Johnny Somali. But just to get him ready and have him be prepared. But generally, you got to do what they tell you to do in jail. UFO for 100 Czech krona. Thank you. Says, good. Now scrub it. Cryosite for 20 says, we'll still have cabbages on the table. That's the important part. That is the very, very important part. So I like to stream. Where's Hanky Poo? Hanky Poo did not show up. So Hank has been gone for 2 separate trials. So there could be a breakup between the two. They could be on the outs. Hank could be done with it. Hank might be scared. Who knows? It could be anything. Chirag RS for 729 dinar says, I did expect 3 years. Seems fair. Yeah, it seems very, very fair. And that's one of my expectations too. Surplus for 299. Thank you. Tian VT says, turn big rocks into little rocks. Asmongold. And Jose Pulvera for 1,000 Chilean pesos says, una mejor día de año. That's right. A very big day of the year. Ryobi says, RKI thinks he's the booty warrior. Nah, he's the Tom. Dignity for €6. So if the lawyers do go after child offense charge, will the sex offender registration work severely against him? He already will have it. So if he already will be registered as a sex offender, so maybe they will amend that. I'll need to look into exactly how that works. Maybe they will add that in, make an additional disclosure. Maybe they would add additional treatment on. So, for example, his treatment would be extended, something like that. I have to look into how exactly that will work if they add that on. Once again, that case, we don't know how far that one's going to go. It's in the hands of the police now to decide whether the prosecutors are going to bring that forward and do something with that. But it's still on the table. It's not off the table. Dante Owakami says, I'm curious, what if he messes with the Odang? I'm sure he would get the Korean. He'd be put in the Korean solitary for that. Astaroth Flamel for 5 says, according to ChatGPT, a sentence of up to 3 years means a 15-year duration on the sex offender registration. More would mean up to 20 years. Quang for 5 says, last time I cast an RGI stream, he was streaming inside Hank's bathroom and said it would smell really bad. Not sure how accurate it is. I'm pretty sure those bathrooms are stinky. Yes. Okay. So he's got to do the disclosure. He's likely going to get a factory job, prison toilets. He's going to be on the sex offender treatment, most likely. And here's the thing. U.S. law. Let's hang out for U.S. law, American lawyer. If he is registered as a Korean sex offender, RKI may need to register as a U.S. sex offender under U.S. federal law, SORNA. So under what I read, and once again, I'm not perfect on this, so I'm putting may, right? It's very likely he needs to register as a sex offender under SORNA. So how that statute reads in the U.S. is if you are convicted under the laws of a foreign country And it provided that conviction was fair and had due process. So it's not somewhere like North Korea or like Cuba or like, Somalia or something where it's just tribal justice. As long as you had a fair trial that was not a political conviction or something else like that, it counts under SORNA. And South Korea meets this standard. They have what's considered a fair system with due process. So under this system, SORNA, when you are in the U.S., so when he comes back to the U.S., he would be required to register upon 3 business days upon entering the U.S. as a offender. And he would have to register in any U.S. jurisdiction where he resides, works, or attends school. And failure to register under SORNA can result in a 10-year jail sentence if he fails to register in the U.S. So real life U.S. consequences here. F-A-F.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Moose Anonymous for $2.49. Thank you for those euros. Misfire, member for 10 months. This labor will give him new skills when he gets out. He may actually have something he can do and turn that around in a positive way. Maybe he can actually decide to change his life. We'll see. Maybe it changes him. Hagashaka, 71112 for 65 South Korean, Swedish krona. So it came to pass, the big turds started scrubbing away at the small turds. That's right. Moose Anonymous says, will RKI finally learn a useful profession? He might. It's possible. Maybe Korean prison teaches him just well. So the next trial date, the sentencing is April 15th, 2026. So there was a big fuck you from the judge. And this is a very glorious, glorious point today, that he ended up when he was asking, and I'll even go to this, right? So in the transcript, I'll actually close the transcript. Sorry. So I'll quote it for you. I'll paraphrase this for you guys. So in the transcript, the judge asked, would you like a swift sentencing? So the judge said, oh, Johnny Somali, would you like a swift sentencing? And Johnny Somali said, yes, I would like a swift sentencing. I would like to be sentenced as swiftly as possible. And so it said, okay, April 15th. That is a fuck you, because typical sentencing is 2 weeks after the closing arguments. 2 weeks after the closing arguments. So they should have given him a March date. He should have been sentenced on like March 14th, March 12th, something like that. But instead, they gave him 2 months away, pretty much. It's like, no. You're going to have to wait. You're going to have to suffer, and you're going to have to be there into April. So this is going to be something going on into April. You're going to have to deal with this. You're going to have to deal with the consequences all the way in April. Absolute 100% burn. It's during Songkran, which is the water festival here. I'll be so happy for that one. Happy Songkran Day early. That's right. APZDs for 40 Thai baht. That's right. Tim Riggs, 098, member for 38 months, says, I don't know. I suspect RK is incapable of learning a damn thing. Well, I'll put up a little poll in the chat. Let's see what you guys think. Hold on. Let's see. Does RKI learn something from jail? I'll put yes, no. And I'll put a third option. Yes, no, and to guard his cabbage hole. We'll see what you guys think in the chat. I want to know. Kaiko's Corner, 4176, is first person I ever sub to, figuring this out. Well, it's all good. Vigo Denex for 50 Swedish krona says, can they send him to North Korea for hard labor 3 years? This is something both Koreans can find in common. Their hate for Johnny Somali. I know they can merge. It could bring peace to the Koreas to settle over Johnny Somali, because obviously North Korea isn't really happy that they were made a laughingstock by Johnny Somali. They really don't like being made a laughingstock of. So that's something that perhaps both Koreas can get together on. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything else here. Okay. So got that one. RKI has inverted Tozi's career track from streamer to janitor. I love it. Surplus 328 for 299 Oz. Thank you. The Talented X, a serious question. Can you find out if we send letters and gifts to the judge or jurisdiction for how they handle this? No, probably not. That would might be fall under a bribery statute. We don't want to get into getting this invalidated for bribery, right? That we don't want to do that. But we do think, and once again, getting to sentencing, which will be on April 15th. I do think, going back to this, that 2 years is the most likely thing, maybe a little bit under that. So I think they will give at least 2 years. That's my prediction. They could very well adopt the prosecutor's recommendation. And based on the judge's reaction, the judge not being happy about it, right, the judge could go with 3 years. That's very, very, very possible that he gets 3 years in Korean prison. But I think 2 years is fair. I think 2 years, he's got enough time to get in there, sit, think about the consequences of his actions. I think it's very, very much enough for Johnny Somali. Now, about the child sexual harassment charges, I do think those still should be brought. I think that those are very, very valid. I think what he did fits into the statutes for child sexual harassment, both what he did at Lotte World and what he did on Ome, right? And remember, on Ome, he was talking with minors. It was pretty much a per se thing, and there's sexual propositioning there of those minors. And once again, just incentivizing them to do things that are sexual or act in a sexual manner will be enough under that statute. So he could get hit with that very reasonably. And I think that is reasonable, and I think that is fair, and I think it would be fair. Oskova 7591 for 5 Canadian says, I believe having to register under SORNA also carries other consequences, losing his right to a passport. I'm not sure whether it loses the right or there's a notation on the passport, but I think that would be very important, even a notation, so that every country he would go to would know this guy before he enters, and they can decide, the immigration officers, when you're coming into the country, can decide whether to let you in. If you have a sex offender notation on your passport, right, they have a very good reason to deny you entry. And I think that's part of this, is having a consequence for him when he's traveling and stopping him from traveling. And I think that might get us there. Miss Stonefire gifted 5 Legal Minds memberships. Thank you so much. Yes. Cool said, I'm joining the stream today. I'm glad too. I am thoroughly enjoying this. Absolutely great. Dindace 29 says, for 200 Thai baht, will he appeal? Would he want to have the case continuing longer? Anyway, have you seen the real Mudang recently? She's bigger, but she's still cute and bouncy as ever. I haven't seen her recently, but I will be going there very, very soon. So we'll have some Mudang pictures for everybody very, very soon. Some IRL Mudang. Juice Box Poppy 182 for 999 says, so what's the over under? He puts his fingers in the judge's mouth. Come on, Johnny, we know we're watching. You still got a chance. Hey, he should go for it. At this point, what's a little contempt charge, right? What's a little contempt charge? Or the bailiff laying him out live. That would be amazing. Allison Brown 1164 for 10 says, has Hank caught any charges related to his social media RKI? If not, is it possible? Possible, yes, but I'm honest, highly unlikely. Hank's probably not going to get anything with any of this. So I think Hank is kind of out the window at this point. And I think, Hank's probably happy to be not associating with this, which is probably why he's not in court. I mean, the Occam's razor there is he's just kind of over it and done with it and trying to move on with his life and move on from this saga. And as soon as Johnny goes to jail in 2 months, he'll be free to go to China, which is what he wanted to do. So he'll be fully free to do that. Colleague says, Mudang's smile is all of us right now. Mudang is absolutely happy about this. She is doing great. She's having a great time. Let's have her hang out while I answer these. Ray Senpai says, what a twist for 2000. Was it Ichan? 1. Thank you. Mr. T for 2 says he'll learn how to wash boxers and grab his ankles. Keiko says, probably Keiko. Oh, Keiko's Corner. There you go. Thank you. Japanese name. Starrelina 0224 says, best birthday gift ever. Thank you for New York. Shout out to all the people out there in New York. Love you guys. It's Papa for 50 Danish krona says, okay, can we have the judge decide a Korean nonprofit organization instead of the gifts, donations, or organizations that are a legal workaround? We could find a charity for you to donate to in support of the conviction. Maybe we do that. I can try to see if there's a Korean charity that we could get donations to. That might be something good. Maybe we put it back towards the Comfort Woman statues. Maybe that would be a nice thing, right? Surplus says, please tell me if you refuse to work solitary. It's a possibility, right? It is definitely a possibility. Once again, if you're disobeying orders, there can be consequences in jail. Coyote Trickster, member for 24 months, says, am I a horrible person for relishing this much schadenfreude? No, RKI is as the British say, an absolute muppet. Absolute muppet. Goobirds says, dude could have stayed in the U.S. and opened a learning center. Bro, missed out on all those big Somali bucks. Bad News Badger says, Hank isn't in court because he's busy yelling, sir, yes, sir, in boot camp. A little joke there because Hank has never done his mandatory conscription. So he's missed out on that pretty much completely. Hugashaka for 65 Swedish says, is there any chance that he'll put on mine sweeping duty in the DMZ? Asking for a friend. That would be hilarious, but that would require him to work around other people in mines. And the mines are too good for him. The mines are too good for him. You know, the wholesome landmines are too good for RKI. So that's what we got today, guys. I will be definitely covering this as it comes to it will definitely be covering this as it comes to the sentencing, and I will have more information on to you guys about maybe the sex offender registry, what that means in Korea, what that means in the US. Maybe we do an extra one on that, but this is absolutely great news, positive, and this shows that he is going to jail, that this is where the direction is headed. Now we have to get the sentencing, we have to have the judge say it, right? So technically the judge could rule any way he wanted, and the judge could magically find leniency. It's possible. It is possible, right? But it's highly unlikely. It is very unlikely they're going to deviate from the prosecutor's recommendation, right? Very unlikely. Sentencing is close to my birthday. What a present. I know. Another present is the fast facts. Stick around for that right after this stream with all the coping and seething that Ramsey's going to be doing. We got the fast facts. Stick around with that. Share it out. Get it out. Love you guys. Stay based, and I will catch you on the next one.
You are coping the seething. You just can't believe what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping the seething. The truth it is all day, and now you are more.